Okay, well, welcome to Artsy Angie's DIYs. Here we're going to take this self-adhesive wall tile from the dollar store, and we're going to take one of these dollar store pumpkin door hangers, and we're going to make it super cute. You're going to need a plate, some Waverly white chalk paint. I had some of that with me in hand, a 3/4 flat brush, and I'm going to also use this kind of a chippy flat brush that I had. It's like a little old chippy brush I had. So we'll use that to do a technique we're going to use. So first we're going to go ahead and remove the tag. We're going to remove this jute rope hanger that came with this dollar store pumpkin. We're going to go ahead and remove carefully this raffia bow that was glued on there. And it also came with this little like metal sheet cut out of a silver leaf. So we're going to go ahead and remove all of that as well. Always be careful when you're using your wire cutters. Safety first, of course. So just try. It was a little tricky to pull off, so I had to use the end of my scissors to carefully. I didn't want to destroy it in case I wanted to reuse that. Reuse the silver leaf for another project. Okay, and there you go. Super cute. You can still reuse it. So I'm going to put that off to the side. And now we have our flat based Thankful and Blessed, and it's cute as is, but you know, we're gonna make it even super cute. So here I have a little sand block that I bought. I believe I might have gotten that maybe $1 now, and the letters had some glitter on it, so I'm just going to carefully just sand off some of that glitter off of the Thankful and Blessed. Just so we have a flatter surface to adhere our wall tile on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this self-adhesive wall tile. They sell these at Dollar Tree, Dollar General. You'll see them kind of in the bathroom section, I think. And it's called self-adhesive wall tile. And there was one in the pack. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it upside down. You'll see there's the sticky part. So I'm going to make sure that's the sticky end. Remove the backing. And then I'm going to go ahead and place the pumpkin as best I can. So at first I kind of centered it to the tile and didn't realize I wanted my stem to be hanging out. So then I went ahead and started to readjust. So it's up to you if you want the whole pumpkin covered in that wall tile. Once I realized that the stem was being covered, I went ahead and readjusted it. And it's kind of like a sticker, so I was able to kind of stick it off and on. So that's when I realized that I wanted some of my pumpkin stem to stick out. I didn't want the whole thing covered with the wall tile, so I wanted to center it as best as I could. And then just press down as firmly as you can. And then with your scissors, or you can even use an X-Acto knife, just be careful. I went ahead and used the scissors because it's kind of a tough type of wall sticky tile. So I just cut around using the pumpkin as my guide and cut around the entire shape of the pumpkin. So I use my scissors. Again, you could use a if you have one of those push down cutters. They have, it looks like a little pizza cutter, but it's for crafters. You could use that too. It probably would have been easier. But I just wanted to use my my scissors because it was a little bit thick, that adhesive wall tile. So anyway, you just keep cutting it around, all the way around to the edge. Because I had my stem sticking out, I just had to be a little bit careful around the stem area. Again, just using my scissors, cutting around the edges. And just all the way around until you get your shape. So I put away all the extras to the side, and there you go. Look how stinking cute that already looks. So it has that ornate look to it. I love that. So what I'm going to do is grab my sand block, and I'm just going to sand off the rough edges around, all the way around the pumpkin, just so it smooths out the edges a little bit. Some of them were sticking out a little bit. So it just kind of gives it more of, because we're going to do this more of a rustic farmhouse pumpkin look. There's a little bit of that edge sticking out at the top of the base of my, right there at the base of my pumpkin. You'll see it. So because this is sort of a thick wall adhesive, as you notice, I pulled away from the pumpkin and there was these little gaps. So I'm just smoothing out again some more of these edges, and I just wanted to make it nice and smooth. So this way it's literally lined up with the board of the pumpkin. And you just keep doing that until you're satisfied with the edges. And then I just grab my wire cutters to get the little tiny pieces that I can't bring into with my scissors. So that's where I did that top part I was telling you about, right around the stem area or edges. So as we're doing that, just keep sanding around the edges. It's really your preference how much you want to sand around the edges. It looks like I'm doing a lot, but it's really not. But it's just to kind of get it nice and smooth.
Daniel Bella!
And therefore, now that we have all that squared, I'm not sure. See, that's where I pull away whatever's not sticking or adhering exactly to it. So I'd put a little bit of hot glue. You can use E6000 as well, or some hot glue, just to make sure it's more secure to your wall hanger. See, I can pull that little edge there, so that means you need to look around where it's not sticking and put some hot glue. There was that little edge right there at the stem that I was talking about before, that just wasn't kind of curving. So I just kept using my sand block to get that little edge around the it's just kind of bothering me there. I just had to kind of clip it a little bit around the edge, or the basically end of my stem. So once you're done with that, there it goes. Sand that a little bit more so it's nice and smooth. And once you're done with that, you're going to go back with your hot glue. So it was like a little piece right there that I had. So I'm just clipping that off because it was just bothering me that it was too squarish. It wasn't like rounded to go around my pumpkin. There, I think I got it there. Look how nice that already looks, the ornate texture of the sticky wall tile. So I thought that was really cool. And see, now I got to do the same on the other edge. I don't know if you could see that. I think that's when I realized I had to do the other side because it was a little too square and not inward. So I went ahead and turned it around and just grabbed the extra little pieces that were sticking out from that wall tile, grabbing it with my wire cutters just to be a little bit more precise. Again, if you have an X-Acto knife, you can use that to cut those little edges, any little edges that are bothering you. I've just been working on that table, so I didn't want to use my X-Acto knife. And so I just went ahead and used the wire cutters instead, and then just sand off whatever rough edges. And that was that little, see, now it looks so much better. And when you sand, just make sure you're removing all that dust off of the pumpkin. And now we're going to go ahead, and those little pieces that kept lifting up, we're just going to add some glue. Always make sure to use either finger protectors or just be careful when using your hot glue gun. And put a little bit more here. And I'm just going to check all the way around my pumpkin to see if there's any other parts that are lifting. And this is the part where the plastic sticks to the adhesive. So if you could see underneath, it's white. That part is the sticky part that's already adhered to the pumpkin particle board. So this is the part where the top part was not adhering well. So we went ahead and put some hot glue so it can be more stable. And now just gonna clean it up, make sure all our glue stringies are off, anything that's excess sanding. Make sure you got any little parts that you wanted to press down on, and make sure nothing's lifting. So anything that kept lifting, I just kept adding a little bit more hot glue. And there we have it. I think it looks super cute. Now you can leave it silver like that. That wall tile came in a silverish color, but we're gonna make it look a little bit more rustic. So that is where my Waverly White matted chalk paint came in handy. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and paint over this ornate wall tile that we now have placed. Super cute already as is, and you can literally paint it any color you want. If you prefer it orange, if you prefer it black, I'm just gonna paint it white so that it looks more of a little bit more rustic, and it has a little bit of that. We're gonna make it look almost like a patina type of tin. So this is gonna make it look more like as if it's a farmhouse tin pumpkin. So we're giving it the illusion as if the pumpkin is made out of metal, but it's not, as you can see. So I went ahead using my 3/4 flat brush, grabbing some of that Waverly White chalk paint, and just going right over all that ornate in the self-adhesive wall tile. And we're just covering the entire thing in white. Because it's plastic, it's really adhering. The paint's really adhering well to it. Now, because there's so many little nooks and crannies in that ornate part, you do have to kind of go in and tap around those little edges just to make sure. So see the difference? There's the white. We're covering all that silver. And we're just gonna do that and give it that first coat. Just trying to cover up all the little edges and that in where you see all the ornate design. So make sure you're all covering in that part. Now, this was very easy to paint using the chalk paint. It was very easy to paint right over this, and the paint adhered very well to the wall tile. So just like that, you are painting right over that ornate. And then I noticed I was running low on my Waverly chalk paint. So you will see me later on. I'm going to, because that was just the first coat and I had enough Waverly chalk paint to give it its first coat. But in order to give it a second coat, I really had to mix it with some matte acrylic paint. And it worked fine. It actually worked beautifully to cover it with the matte acrylic paint on top of it to give it that second coat. So as you can see, I'm trying to get in all those little areas where it's ornate, you know, just trying to get all the little areas. And there you go. See, there's our first. See, now no more silver. It's now like a white. It almost looks like a white metal tin. So we're going to cover all that. We're going to give that a second coat. So I'm just trying to grab and make sure I get all those little nooks and crannies. And I think it looks super cute. I mean, I only put the first coat, but it comes out really nice. And there we are going to mix a little bit more and this is when I had to apply I believe my acrylic paint. So it really doesn't matter if you have your Waverly chalk paint. Definitely use that and give it 2 coats. In my scenario, I ran out of my Waverly chalk paint, so again, I had to just add to that with matte acrylic paint or white paint, whatever you have in hand, really. And even if you run out of that, I think you could even probably even use a Rust-Oleum chalk paint. Just cover your stem and yeah, you could probably spray paint it as well. But I haven't tried that, so we'll probably have to try that one time and see if that works with using like a matte acrylic spray paint. So here I am trying to give it another second coat. We really want to get into all those little divots and that's in that design. You want to cover around the nooks and crannies. Again, it's supposed to look rustic, so I'm not being 100% perfect. As you can see, it looks like I'm just dabbing paint all the way around, so it's just more like trying to cover the area so I don't see any more of that silver. And yeah, so just continue doing that. Paint, so just giving it that second coat. Just continuing and just really just kind of covering all your bases all the way around with that second coat. And of course, when you give it the second coat, it's going to look now more white, much more brighter, because now you won't see that silver underneath that came with the self-adhesive wall tile. And there's so many different types of self-adhesive wall tiles. You definitely want to buy one that you might see at the store that has texture. So I just happened to see this one that has the texture and really liked it, so we went ahead and used that. And so I'm going to go ahead using the dryer dry up that paint. You can make sure it's nice and dry. Drying it all the way around. Dry. Don't apply, of course, the heat too much around. Remember, that's still plastic, so you don't want to melt the wall adhesive right off your pumpkin. So now with that second brush that I was telling you about, that was kind of very chippy. It's like a nice little chippy little brush that I had. It really is just an old brush I had, but it had kind of like a chippy edge to it. So we're gonna go ahead and take some of this brown, just your basic brown. I used dark brown by Folk Art in a matte finish. And you put a little bit on your plate, and then I offset it just a little bit because I didn't want a lot of paint on my brush. And then very slightly, very softly, just kind of smooth your brush over those little ornate bumps. So so slightly, very lightly, as you can see how I'm using my brush. Very slight, very lightly, until basically there's no more paint and you gotta reapply paint on your brush. And what you're doing is giving that patina brown look. Now, if you feel like you put a little too much paint, just use a rag, a paint rag. And then you could always go back and add a little bit more white if that was too dark, which is what I'm doing there in little areas. Retouching with my white. And then I'm just gonna go back, dip it in my brown, offset it to the side, like as if you were gonna be stenciling. That's what we call offsetting. And then just very lightly, just continue to apply wherever you feel you want to add some of that brown. Now I'm adding it all the way around, very lightly, kind of in between, skipping here and there, because we're not really covering this in the brown. We're just giving it a bit of a touch. And again, use your rag if you feel there was too much brown in certain areas. And it just really gives it, look at that. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it really gives it a warmed look right there. And just like that. And so now while it's doing that, while it dries a little bit, because remember we did it very lightly, so I don't need to dry it. Now we're gonna take some of my jute rope and we're gonna wrap that stem in my jute rope. So we're gonna apply a little bit of that hot glue. Always be careful using hot glue. Of course, I did not have my finger protector, so we're gonna go ahead and use my safety scissors to hold down the twine jute rope. On the back side, that's where I'm gonna start. And then I'm gonna grab my jute rope and pretty much start wrapping around the stem. So I'm just carefully, wherever I feel like I might need glue, I will put glue, just to give it that added stability. Holding it down with my scissors. And then very tightly, just starting to wrap it all the way around. I'm just holding it tight, wrapping it around, and we're really going to cover that whole stem in our jute rope. And wherever you feel like you might have to apply a little bit of glue, by all means, if you want to glue on each level of your jute rope, you can if you want to. I was trying not to do too much and doing it more by applied pressure, but wherever I felt like it needed glue, I would go ahead and add a little bit of that glue. See, like right there, it's starting to loosen up, so I was like, well, let's go ahead and put a little bit more glue. And then, so it's really kind of however tightly you want to wind that jute rope over to your stem. And it grabs it just like that. And then just continue wrapping around the jute, the stem. And I'm using, as you can see, a thin type of jute rope. It's not a thick one. It's just, as you can see my roll right there, it's just a nice small type of jute rope. It's not thick at all, but it's perfect for this project because it's just the right width for us to wrap our jute rope around the stem. So this is where it gets tricky because the stem curves off to the right. So obviously the jute rope wants to kind of move around, and that's where you just keep applying and being very careful applying your jute rope. Always be careful when you're using your hot glue. And then that's where we're coming around the corner, which is very tricky, and that's where you're going to need a little bit more glue. So I kind of kept adding a little bit more glue. It's where you probably might need your safety scissors. And then that just kept wrapping it and sitting on top of that really tippy part of that stem. So it's just like that. So it's kind of tricky. You do have to kind of hold it tight. And then I go back around and try to get that little small part at the edge as covered as possible. And just use your hot glue as wherever you feel like you need to cover that jute rope. So I went ahead and covered it right to the very end. Then I turned it around. And then that's where I'm gonna go ahead and lay it across. I cut it right where I'd like to. And I'm gonna lay it right across the back. Just to have it like an added security. Pressing it down with my safety scissors just to hold that whole area down so you can see. So there you have it. Look how stinking cute that looks with the jute rope on the top. You've got what looks like galvanized white tin steel, rustic. Now, I wasn't sure if I wanted to use that metal leaf. I kept debating whether I wanted to reuse it, not reuse it, because it was cute and it is supposed to have that metal look. So it was kind of hard to decide whether I wanted to put it back on there. I could have, but I went ahead instead going a little bit of a different route. So but you could have just put that little leaf there and call it a day, if that's your preference, and just keep it really simple. But of course I'm not simple. I like to make my things look super cute. So I grabbed some of this burlapped wired ribbon that already has this little built-in lace. I believe I might have gotten this at Dollar Tree, this ribbon. So I was kind of debating whether I wanted to use that leaf or not. I kept going back and forth on that, but you can. If you want to use the leaf, by all means, go ahead and use your leaf. I decided to double wrap this jute rope, so we have 2 loops on both ends. Or did I do one? No, I did one. Sorry about that. I just did one. I went ahead and used that same jute rope to tie it in the middle to give it my bow look. Trimmed it and then went ahead and just looped around a knot, tightened it as tight as possible. And I thought I did 2 loops for each side, but I actually just did the one because it is a small base at the top of that stem. So we just did the one. If you like to go bigger with your bow, by all means, go ahead. Make it 2 loops on each side, 3 loops on each side. I just went more simple. And I just trimmed it right there, cut it, and went ahead and poofed out my bow a little bit so I could see what it looks like at the bottom of my base there. I'm gonna go ahead and glue the back part right there in the center and then put it right there at the base of that stem. And it already looks so farmhousey. I love it. Now it's debating whether I want to put that metal leaf. Just kept coming back at me and I wasn't sure what to do. I kept clipping. There's the remnants of the orange pumpkin where they had the glue, so I just kept trimming off the glue off the back of the leaf. But again, I just didn't know if I wanted to use this leaf. I really could have. Maybe part of me wish I had 2 of those leaves. But see, if I leave it right there, there you go. Just plain and simple. You could have hot glued that leaf right there in the middle and really just called it a day. And I just couldn't decide whether I wanted to do the leaf, because it just looked a little bit kind of plain for me. But it looks pretty and you can use it, so I'm giving you that option. You could just do the little bow, hot glue that little metal leaf and call that a day. But I also had that raffia that we cut out earlier from the original pumpkin, and I kept adjusting the raffia, and I thought, well, this raffia will look great. Maybe I use both like it had it originally. But then I thought, oh, I don't know. So so I really do, this is where my creative juices come in, because I wasn't sure in the direction, but it doesn't look so bad now that I see it with the leaf and the bow. This is where I had to stand up to really look at it, and I wasn't too sure if I wanted to. Now I'm looking at this thinking I could have used that leaf and it would have been fine. But we are, of course, I like to be a little bit more creative. So I decided to look for some items that I can put on the bow. And I found these, I meant to use acorns because acorns is more fall. But I found these cute little pine cones and I thought, oh, well, I have these in hand. How cute would it be if I add these little tiny pine cones? They really should have been acorns. But I kind of liked how the little pine cones looked along with the raffia bow. And I thought, well, I could put 2 little pine cones, but it looked much, much cuter with the 3. So I went ahead and decided I'm going to do the raffia look instead. So we're going to go ahead and hot glue that, just pulling it apart a little bit and put it right there in the center. A little hot glue in the back, hold it down. And then carefully I'm going to go ahead and hot glue my bigger pine cone and then my other 2 small ones. So I'm going to put one on the right side, one on the left, and then I believe I put one in the middle. I was looking and see if I wanted to use that, but I didn't. And those little pine cones came in a little tiny bag of like a potpourri type of mixture of potpourri with these tiny little pine cones. So I thought, oh, this is gonna be so cute. And it's gonna smell nice too because it came in a potpourri type of bag. So I went ahead and added those there in the center. And I was thinking about adding a little bit of a sort of a button pearl detail. I couldn't make up my mind whether I wanted to add just something a little bit in the middle. And then all of a sudden I found this little cute white spray that I had. It's like a little floral spray I had. It might have been from last winter, but I had that and it just happened to be staring at me. And I said, you know what? That was the touch I needed. So I put a little bit of glue on that stem and just stuck it right there in between the two little pine cones. And held it down with my scissors. And then I grabbed the last little pine cone and covered the bottom of that stem. And put a little bit of glue on that and then hold it right there in the middle. So it definitely has more of an organic feel, rustic feel. I think it came out super cute. I think it would have been better with acorns instead of pine cones, but you know what? It's gonna be a nice rustic pumpkin that can be basically transitioned from fall to winter. So how stinking cute did that come out? I really loved it. And you, again, the possibilities are endless. We could have just used the leaf and all of those and enjoy. Thank you so much. Okay, and there you have it, our rustic looking patina type tin pumpkin. It came out super cute. I'm so happy with the results. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and will make one yourselves and would love to see them. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Ciao for now.